Welcome back to another edition of Kansas City Experience, the monthly program that pulls together a selection of segments from KCPT, Flatland, and 90.9 The Bridge. I'm Brad Austin, creative arts producer right here at Kansas City PBS. Now, social distancing has changed a lot, including how we approach organizing and protesting. We find out how local climate change activists had to alter course for an Earth Day like no other.
The idea of us just kind of sitting dormant during this time, it would be just such a wasted opportunity. There's a lot of untapped potential in the community of people that are feeling fired up but don't know where to channel that.
Now, the pandemic has been particularly difficult on the restaurant industry. We talked to a restaurant manager about facing the reality of unemployment and an uncertain future.
You can't live a normal life off of unemployment, like a car payment and my rent almost could be covered, and that's not including food, utilities, insurance, anything else.
And of course, we are well aware that hospitals and doctors have been thrust onto the front lines during this pandemic, but their sole focus isn't entirely on COVID-19. We take a look at some of the groundbreaking genetic research that's happening right here in the Kansas City metro area.
We're not just armchair observers in the world of genetic research. We are actively innovating breakthroughs in treatments as we speak.
From our 90.9 The Bridge studio sessions, Josh Ritter performs All Some Kind of Dream.
I thought I knew who my neighbor was. We didn't need to be redeemed. Oh, what could I have been thinking of? Was it all some kind of dream?
But first, I've been checking on local artists and performers to find out how they are adjusting to pandemic restrictions. Now, even though the Kansas City Symphony will not be drawing crowds for the time being, I actually find out what they are up to and their newest creative outlet.
Hello, and welcome to the Kansas City Symphony's new podcast, Beethoven Walks into a Bar. So imagine Beethoven walks into a bar, 21st century, let's say, right here in Kansas City. And if he approached our table after a concert or a rehearsal, a group of musicians hanging out, what might the conversation be?
Well, thanks for joining me on this 6th episode of Artists in Residence. This is the first time we're going to talk to multiple people, so we'll see how this goes. All from the symphony. We have Michael Gordon, the principal flutist of the symphony, Jason Sieber, the associate conductor, and Stephanie Brimhall, the education manager. All three of you are working together to create a podcast, but this podcast first started March 9th, so it came out a little before the stay-at-home order. Were you planning on the stay-at-home order before doing this podcast, or was this something that was in the works prior?
Well, we were fortunate enough to be able to do the very first podcast all together in the same room, and had a great time doing that. I don't think we were surprised by the stay-at-home order, but I also, it was, there were some challenges that we had to overcome, and are now, I would say, pretty adept at doing it at home.
Yeah, we've gotten comfortable pretty quickly. I think as a concept, this was something that was in the back of minds for a little while, but our inability to play concerts sort of pushed things forward quickly. So we had about I don't know what, maybe 6 days from when we first decided it was decided for us, I suppose, that we would try to do this. And then we put out the first episode, we recorded together. And since then we've been recording from our separate homes and had to adapt, but it's working out all right, I think.
And so who came up with the title? So the title of the podcast is Beethoven Walks into a Bar. And I'll just let you, how did you come up with the title Beethoven Walks into a Bar? And then the concept of the podcast, because it really is interesting. And I've learned so much out of the first 4 podcasts that I've listened to. Who came up with that idea? And tell me about the podcast.
One morning, our new executive director, Danny Beckley, came in, and he was excited, and he was kind of talking with everyone around, saying that he really wanted to do this new podcast, and he'd come up with a name, and it was going to be this very lighthearted and fun, casual conversation about classical music. And I honestly don't remember what his title was, because his assistant was sitting there as part of this conversation, and all of a sudden he chimes in and said, no, I think it should be Beethoven Walks into a Bar. And then everybody around was like, absolutely, that's what it should be. And that's where it was born from. It really is just meant to be a casual, fun conversation about music, like you might have in a bar.
I think there's a perspective or a perception of what these arts organizations are like from the outside that doesn't seem accessible to them. But this podcast makes me feel like the symphony is very accessible to everyone.
I think so, for sure. I mean, one of the big things we talked about right from the beginning was how can we give our audience members, whether they are diehards that come every week, or people that maybe come occasionally, or maybe people that have thought about coming and just haven't come yet, how can we give all those people kind of a behind the scenes look at what happens at the symphony, no matter what their level of comfort is with us already? But I think we're especially targeting people that maybe are familiar with us, but just don't know a lot about us and want to know more. I mean, there's so many cool things that we do at the symphony. There's music for everyone with all the diversity of concerts that we offer. And what we're trying to do through the podcast is kind of give people a behind the scenes, inside baseball kind of look into the symphony world.
The second episode, you talk about one-hit wonders. Now, I never thought of one-hit wonders in classical music. Does that work the same? I mean, is it, so some of these one-hit wonders that you talk about, is it their other stuff is just not nearly as good and they just got lucky once? Or I don't know, how does that work in the classical music world? Because I thought that was a great parallel.
Yeah, I think there are definitely not as many one-hit wonders in the classical world. Usually, if you're known as a composer, you have at least a few hits. And then, of course, you have people like Beethoven, Mozart, Brahms that have many well-known pieces. But there are several composers that are really only known for one orchestral piece, at least. They might have an opera that gets performed sometimes, or a concerto. But as far as main orchestral repertoire, you definitely have a few people that are only known for one hit. And actually, on that episode, we talked about the Albinoni Adagio, which is played at weddings all the time. It's a piece from the Baroque period, or at least we thought. And then we've found out in the last 50 years or so that he didn't even write it. He might have written like the opening melody, and that's it. So his one hit isn't even a hit. It's like Milli Vanilli, you know?
Yeah. Michael, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy during the stay-at-home order? I know when it comes to practicing, you said you've been driving your wife up the wall maybe a little bit, but what have you been doing to stay busy during this stay-at-home order that we have going on?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm used to not having a choice about when I play the flute and how much I play, because I have to, be at work at a certain time for rehearsal, for concerts. And that's great. But in the absence of that, I've actually felt really motivated to play a lot and to try to share music as much as possible. I've been getting all into making videos that I've been putting up on Facebook and sharing with people that way. Thanking people who have supported us, because I can't physically be in the same place as anyone else and play music for them. So as an offshoot of that, I'm starting to learn how to do some video editing. I never edited a video in my whole life before 3 weeks ago, and now I'm learning to use Final Cut, and I just got this new recorder so I can make stuff sound a little bit better than what comes out of my iPhone. And so yeah, I've been doing a lot of that, and I've been making this podcast with these two wonderful people, and in many ways I actually feel quite a bit busier, and then I'm doing more different things than what I would normally be doing.
What I think everyone's saying is maybe this will push the artwork forward, the art forward, and how we communicate with the public maybe a little differently. Stephanie, you've been working on Symphony at Home, or education for the Symphony at Home. What's that program that people might want to check out online there at the Symphony?
Sure. So we have spent quite a bit of time putting a lot of our materials online. I am a mother of 2 elementary age kids, and so we've been getting a lot of stuff from the schools, but I really feel like families are looking for opportunities to engage their children with a variety of different activities online, and the symphony really wanted to be able to help with that. So we've taken many of our musicians have been super generous, like Mike, but many have been generous with their time in creating videos of them playing. But also, we started videos that introduce the instruments to kids and adults and whoever wants to learn more about those instruments. So we've got a handful of them up on the website right now where you can see, you can learn about the harp. I actually learned quite a bit from Catherine Ciochi about the harp in these introduction videos. We've got harp and violin and I think flute and oboe, and more coming every day. So that's really neat. And I also spent quite a bit of time adapting learning guides that we had created for programs that we've done over the years, and have adapted them so that parents at home with their kids can look at those online and go through different programs that the symphony has performed for our elementary school concerts about science, about reading, language arts, history, all sorts of different things. So we've been able to bring those to the community as well.
That's great. And again, the best place for people that are watching this to go and check it out is right there on the website of the KC Symphony, correct?
Right, kcsymphony.org.
So encourage everyone to go and check that out. It's really good. It's very pleasing to the eye to look at, very professionally done, and lots of content, which is awesome. It was really great. Jason, what have you been doing during this time? What does behind the scenes at the symphony look like for you during this the stay-at-home order?
Well, it's interesting because when we are active giving rehearsals and concerts, we're in Hellsberg Hall for probably 20 to 25 hours a week. And some people, from the outside look at that and go, wow, you get paid full time to be in your job for only 20 hours a week or so. But actually, the musicians are home practicing every day, 3 to 4 or 5 hours a day. And I'm at home studying scores. I spend a lot of time in my pajamas, in my basement, learning music. And I have still been doing some of that because, of course, we have programs that we're hoping to get back to soon, and I've been studying those. But I've also got my violin back out. A lot of conductors don't have time because they're so immersed in scores to play their instruments as much as they'd like to. So I've really reconnected with my violin, and that's been very nice. I, along with Mike, have been giving a few performances that I've uploaded to get us through these difficult times. And we've also started a porch concert series. Some of the KCES musicians and myself here in Brookside, Waldo area. We did our first one last Wednesday, and we're hoping to do them again once the weather cooperates and it's a little warmer outside. Just going out to our porch, playing a real informal performance for 15, 30 minutes as neighbors walk by, all socially distancing and being responsible, but just trying to bring some joy into people's hearts during this difficult time for all of us.
Jason, Stephanie, Michael, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Artists in Residence. We will, of course, get online and follow the Kansas City Symphony on all the social platforms. And of course, like I said, go to the website and follow some of the education pieces that you have out that are just beautiful to look at. And of course, the podcast, the podcast is available there at Symphony's website. It's also available on Spotify, Apple Music, and iTunes. It's a big deal. It's amazing, and it's so enlightening, and I've really enjoyed each episode's right about 30 minutes, give or take, and so it's a good listen while you're driving to work or driving home. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We kind of put ourselves on the map as like one of the climate organizations in Kansas City. We absorbed a ton of new members to get ready for Earth Day to make it the biggest and most impactful like climate strike ever. The pandemic hit and we had to completely change gears.
especially towards the beginning when everything was first happening. I mean, everyone was just reeling, especially because so many of our members are college students. And so for a lot of the members of the hub, they were having to move out of their dorms and having to deal with switching to online classes and like having their college experience completely disrupted.
It's been really, really challenging to like figure out how to protest in the form of a pandemic. A lot of the tools in our toolbox are just gone right now.
How much do we talk about the Green New Deal versus how much do we talk about the people's bailout now? Do we hit on these very easy parallels that can be drawn between the global pandemic and the climate crisis? It's a lot of things at once.
I think a strength that we have as like a young organization, we were able to move online very quickly.
Okay, so maybe you're here because you already know all about Sunrise and want to get more involved, or maybe you don't know much about it at all and you're here to learn more. Either way, I'm really happy that you joined us tonight.
Originally, the climate strike was going to be on Earth Day. And so what Sunrise National is doing is they're hosting a 72-hour live stream that goes through Earth Day.
We have like a session from like 1 to 2 on Wednesday, where we're going to talk about a new initiative that we have called the People's Quilt.
When quarantine happened and we were organizing for this strike, I was immediately trying to think of other ways to organize. I thought of doing something along the lines of the AIDS quilt. At first, it will look digital. At first, it will look like an Instagram page. Each square will be one of the panels, and then the caption will be the person's description, an individual story. And then eventually it will look like a physical quilt. It'll take up space when we can't gather in large groups, which will probably not be able to happen for a really long time.
Through art is kind of capturing like, hey, here's what the Green New Deal means. Like you'll see sustainable energy, you'll see, people working, you'll see, like visions of justice and equity.
So this is mine. I depicted a bunch of things that make life worth living to me. The movement is about people. It's about creating livable lives for people. It's about our futures. We care because our lives are at stake. Illustrating that urgency through a personal, individual experience is something that our brains are hardwired to respond to,
The original New Deal came about after the Great Depression. As of today, we are already like on track to match the severity of unemployment numbers of the Great Depression. We could surpass it at the rate that we're going right now. All of this like social distancing is kind of like a pressure cooker. When social distancing ends, I think we are going to see a mass movement, the likes of which this like country hasn't seen in a long time.
The idea of like us just kind of sitting dormant during this time, as opposed to like really channeling this moment into getting people involved in this movement, it would be just such a wasted opportunity, especially seeing as there's like a lot of untapped potential in the community of people that are feeling fired up but don't know where to channel that. That's just kind of like a perfect storm for like becoming an activist, and we just want to make sure we're like opening the door to them.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will. It was, hey, we've got to let everyone go. Of course, it's temporarily, and everybody will have their jobs, God willing, at the end of this. It's pretty scary. I don't want to see my favorite places disappear because of this, but I have a feeling that might happen. I've never filed for unemployment before. We shared with every employee how to apply for unemployment. You can't live a normal life off of unemployment. Like, I think a car payment and my rent almost could be covered, and that's not including food, utilities, insurance, anything else. There are people sharing all over social media, obviously, about different jobs that need a lot of help right now, like at grocery stores, etc. And if this doesn't say, like, you putting your life at risk to work at a grocery store right now, anyone that says you don't deserve a living wage doing that job, like, it has no idea. Everybody that's still working right now deserves to be paid a living wage. Period. Trying to have a good attitude and not feel sorry for myself because I know I don't have it the worst and we're all in this boat together. This boat.
My name is Dennis Ridenauer. I'm the president and CEO of BioNexus KC. Yeah, there is some very exciting research around genetics, around genomics happening right here in Kansas City. At the University of Kansas Medical Center, Dr. Heinrich Sacker and his team are leading research into developing a gene therapy to restore hearing in patients that are suffering from a certain type of hearing loss that currently has no cure.
Hopefully this will not only work, but will bring some recognition to all the other hearing loss disorders that are out there.
Over at UMKC, Dr. Jeffrey Price is studying a gene that helps regulate the circadian rhythms. And these circadian rhythms play significant roles in the health of organisms, including humans. His work helped contribute to a Nobel Prize, and his lab at UMKC has recently discovered links between these internal circadian rhythms and neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease. At the Stowers Institute, Dr. Alejandro Sanchez Alvarado is studying the genes that are involved in regulating regeneration in an organism called planarian.
Each planarian, an ocean unto itself, full of unknowns.
These flatworms have an amazing capacity to regenerate lost body parts and to even regrow almost entire organisms from just a small, tiny fragment of tissue. There is a researcher at Kansas City University, Dr. Robert White. He is doing research around Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This is an absolutely devastating disease. It's caused by a mutation in the gene dystrophin. These patients have just progressive muscle degeneration and weakness and ultimately die at a very young age. Dr. White's lab is doing work. They've identified a gene called retinal dystrophin. So this is a dystrophin that's only expressed in the retina of the eye. So right now, Bob and his team are working to figure out how can they activate this gene in the muscles of humans to be able to stop this disease in humans. Right now, under construction in Kansas City is the Children's Mercy Research Institute. We already know that Children's Mercy does amazing things in the care of pediatric patients. This research institute really is a representation of their commitment to finding answers for kids, to identifying genetic disorders, and developing novel treatments for those disorders. So as you can see, there is some incredible research happening right here in the Kansas City region. We're not just armchair observers in the world of genetic research. We are actively innovating breakthroughs and treatments as we speak.
I saw my brother in a stranger's face. I saw my sister in a smile, my mother's laughter in a far-off place, my father's footsteps in each mile. I thought I knew who my neighbor was. We didn't need to be redeemed. Oh, what could I have been thinking of? Was it all some kind of dream? I saw my country in the hungry eyes of a million refugees, between the rocks and the rising tide, as they were tossed across the sea. There was a time when we were them, just as now they all are we. Was there an hour when we took them in? Was it all some kind of dream? I saw justice with a tattered hem. I saw compassion on the run, but I saw dignity in spite of them. I prayed its day would finally come. There was a time when we chose our sides, and we refused to live between. We rose to fight for what we knew was it all some kind of dream? I saw the children in the holding pens. I saw the families ripped apart. And though I try, I cannot begin to know what it did inside their hearts. There was a time when we held them close and weren't so cruel, oh and mean. And we did good unto the least of those. Or was it all some kind of dream? Last night I lay in my true love's bed, and she lay there close beside. And we lay thinking about what lay ahead, wondering if the sun would rise. For it seems that these are darker days than any others that we've seen. Oh, how we wish that we weren't wise.